Hey everybody, welcome back live at Drew's House Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you're all doing well out there on a little bit of a stormy day here in Newburyport. Some weather going on out there. Looks like some more weather coming in for Thanksgiving too. Let me be the first to wish you a happy Thanksgiving here. Just 2 days out. Cannot believe it. Crazy, but a lot going on here, and hopefully you get some time off over the next few days. Big thanks to our producer, Maeve Power. I'm going to do that right at the beginning of the show because that feels good on Thanksgiving week. Our guest today, Eben Diskin, first time on the show. He has launched The Townie about a month ago. It is an online opinion publication. We're going to talk a little bit about that today because I'm sure you want to know what that all means. Eben, how are you, my man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Drew.
Good. So, The Townie, it's about a month in. How you doing with it?
Yeah, it's good. I'm pleased with the response so far. So started about a month ago, like I said. It's an online publication for opinions on local issues.
Okay.
So basically, people can submit opinion pieces about anything ranging from preservation to local politics, education, infrastructure, dining and drinking, whatever they're passionate about locally in the greater Newburyport area.
So these are actual write-ups. It's not like your Facebook post or something.
Imagine the daily news opinion section.
Yep.
And just the opinion section.
Sure.
So it's not a news organization, not a newspaper, not a journalist, just the opinions. I've lived in this town my whole life. Always felt like there needed to be another platform just for opinion pieces. The more voices, the better. So that's what I kind of set out to start, and it's been about a month. If you're on any of the Newburyport Facebook groups, you're probably familiar with me spamming relentlessly and shamelessly, trying to get the word out about the Townie for the last month. But yeah, I've been pretty pleased with the engagement.
Because it does feel like kind of a Facebooky thing. I know, like a lot of these times,
Yes.
like I used to take the dogs to the dog park back in my hometown of Danvers, and a lot of opinions always written there. But is there a gatekeeper? Like, that'd
be me.
That's you, okay.
Yeah.
So if there's just some crap thrown your way, it's like that's not ending up there.
It is not a Facebook group where people can just post whatever they want about their gripes and their complaints about their neighbors. That's not the point. It's a website where, I have a Facebook page, which I encourage people to follow, but basically people can email me their opinion pieces about, again, anything on any range of topics, as long as it is, I say, constructive, adds to the conversation in a thoughtful way, and is not inflammatory or defamatory.
Gotcha.
And I will edit for general sanity, and then I'll publish it. And I encourage people to engage on the website itself or on the Facebook page or however they prefer.
It reminds me of, and so much of the world is going in this way. What's that? Like the thing the athletes do there, the
Players Tribune.
Yes, it reminds me of the Players Tribune.
That's actually the first person to bring that up, and I had that in the back of my mind. It's basically, it's like a way for people who are locally engaged or passionate about local issues to just have a voice without any kind of filter or paywall. I want it to be as accessible as possible.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, the Players Tribune, like if you're, David Ortiz and you want to write something about whatever's on your mind, you can write it, and David Ortiz is obviously a big voice and should be taken seriously, so he can do it.
Right.
So that's kind of why I
and he's local, so if you David Ortiz wants to write about Newburyport, we're more than welcome.
An open invite for David Ortiz to write in the Townie.
Whoever the David Ortiz of Newburyport is, then they're, if they're listening.
Gotcha. I imagine this kind of project, a month in, you are a solo project here, I would imagine. Not much help.
Just me. I've got 2 other full-time jobs, so this is just a side project, just for fun. We'll see where it goes. But
is it still fun a month in?
It is. Actually, it's more fun. All the heavy lifting was when I first launched, so now it's just getting a promotion, doing things like this, getting the word out, and it's been nice. I've had people come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, like you're the guy from the Townie. Like that's cool. I like what you're doing. Like we need another platform for public opinion," and that's been really nice to hear.
Sure. What's like the most talked about topic right now? Are you getting is it politics or?
It was, so I launched right before the election, and I tried to stay away from big national politics, but we had a lot of local election coverage. So we did question 5 about how restaurant workers were tipped. That was a big one. The psychedelics issue, that was a big one. There was some sign stealing going on in Rowley, people stealing political signs. So that's, it's petty stuff, but it has broader implications that I think are interesting. And then we have, I had one written, actually just the other day I published about a a woman who's an immigrant, a Colombian immigrant living on Plum Island, who just moved there recently, and her experience as an immigrant. It's all very positive, and kind of that was a nice like Thanksgiving week uplifting post. As like, hey, like I got here, didn't really know anyone, felt kind of out of place. Everyone's been really welcoming. The community's been great, and just her experience. You don't really think about what a Colombian immigrant's experience living on Plum Island is going to be like. So I think that kind of perspective that you don't usually get is interesting.
That's cool. So you're even getting surprised with some of the stories that come in.
Yeah. And anyone I meet that I think has an interesting story, I'll tell them like, hey, you should write something for me. And I've been pleased by how many people have responded.
That is very nice. What's the are you publishing 3, 4, 5 a day?
I've been doing 2 a week.
2 a week.
Two a week.
Yeah, because it's a lot to go through. Some of these are long, I'd imagine.
It's a lot. Yeah, I have around 800 word limit.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to keep a steady cadence, and while also having enough content to and not running out of content either, because I'm new. I'm still trying to get people to submit.
Yeah, that's half the job right now, right? It's not just getting the content up; it's trying to get people to come see it, right?
It's two prongs. One of them is anyone who's interested in reading opinion pieces, anyone who's interested in kind of just reading that kind of content, engaging with it.
Sure.
Would encourage them to follow the page on the website, and also anyone who is locally
say the
engaged.
website too. It's fine.
Yeah, the website's townynbpt.com. So like Townie Newburyport, so townynbpt.com. And the Facebook page is just the Townie.
Gotcha.
So you'll find that pretty easily.
How about putting all those systems in place? Like, was it? Did you have to find like the right? Because I'm sure you have all age groups that are probably writing in. You want to find something that's kind of easy to work with, and some handle that stuff different. Was that a tough choice for you, or did you have to put a lot of time in actually the functioning of
the website itself?
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough. I have a friend who's a web developer.
There you go.
Who's currently out of work, and he was like looking for a project.
A little bored, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great web developer, really good at his job. So he's been kind enough to help me out to keep his skills sharp, he says. So he helped me out with the website. Very basic website, very easy, and all people have to do is submit to info@townynbpt.com, and that's just a simple email, and then I'll do the rest, and I'll get it up there.
All right.
So that's kind of how it works.
Eben Diskin, the Townie online opinion publication, just launched last month. Go check it out. Go write something for it if something's on your mind. I guess what has been thrown out? What has been sent your way that you're like, no way, not going there?
Honestly, thankfully, not too much.
Oh, good.
Yet. I've gotten some pieces that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
But it's not about what I agree with. It's basically as long as the person is constructive and respectful, and I try to go for solutions-oriented pieces.
Yep.
Then I will happily publish it. But I have gotten some things that I published one recently. Just to give a concrete example of a guy wrote in, great guy, very engaged with my project, emails me all the time, who basically wrote about how the library he believes isn't culturally inclusive enough.
Okay.
And I don't personally agree with that. I think the library is great. I think they're doing a great job. But he wrote a constructive piece, a lot of solutions, a lot of ideas and suggestions for them. And I was like, you know what? I think this is well written. Published it, and I went to the library last week, and the librarian there, who I know a little bit, was like, "Oh, so I saw that wrote about us on your website." I was like, "Oh, like, are you mad at me?
Like, I didn't write it."
Good. I was like, she's like, "Oh, no, I understand. Like, people's opinions, or it can be whatever they want." But that was my first brush with.
Sure.
And I haven't been doing this too long. My first brush with getting a little bit of a backlash.
Well, I bet this open world like this works. That the opinion world does kind of work this way. When somebody like that writes that, I bet there's probably maybe a response or whatever you want to call it. Maybe the other side is probably coming in here in the not too distant future.
Yeah, and you know that the comments on Facebook on something like that are going to be people saying, people pushing back, and that's fine. I encourage all kinds. I would encourage those people to write an op-ed that refutes that guy's piece. That's what the conversation's all about.
What's the vision on this? Do you, as you get more people coming to your site, as you get more people writing stuff in and sending stuff in, do you hope to, once kind of you get all the other stuff, because you're selling yourself too right now, you're acting as a salesperson and and the actual editor of this thing. Once you kind of get the sales part done where you get enough traffic, are you trying to maybe up how many opinion pieces you'll put up there, or is that the end goal?
Do more. The more submissions, the more I would post. And people always ask like, how are you going to monetize it? And I'm like, I don't know. I might not ever monetize it. I don't really care. It's just about adding to the conversation.
Sure.
One of my bigger goals is just to, and what I wrote about in the first piece that I wrote was redefining the word townie, and that's a big part of my brand. And being someone who grew up in this town, has always kind of fought against this current.
It's a negative connotation, right?
Oh, so you lived here your whole life, so you're a town. It was like, and I've always felt myself saying, well, yeah, but I I went to school away and I studied abroad in Scotland for a year, and I lived in Colorado for 2 years. But I'm not a townie, and I travel. My main job is a travel writer, so I travel a lot for work. So I'm always going away.
Yeah.
But I was at some point realized, why am I making excuses for this? Why am I trying to explain why I live in one of the most beautiful places in the country?
Yeah.
Which I genuinely believe it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It's time to redefine this word. Let's make townie something that isn't stagnant and lazy and passive, but something that is active and engaged. It's someone who cares about their community in a passionate way, and they take constructive steps to make it better.
Yeah. Nope.
And that's kind of what my goal is for the townie, just embracing that word.
That's well said. And I think you're right, Newburyport. I think a lot of people would agree with you. It's one of the most beautiful places in the country. Every town does that too, right? And Danvers, I grew up there. It's always like a townie bar or a townie whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, they always have this negative connotation in a weird way. It's funny how that all happened. Travel. Would you say editor, travel writer? What was it?
Travel writer.
Travel writer.
For travel.
That seems like a fun job.
It is, yeah.
Tell me a little more about that. I was going to ask you how you got into this, and that's a good little segue.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for about 7 years. So I do travel writing. I do copywriting for a cruise company on the side. And so basically how that works is it's not all travel. Some of it's just writing, stuff from home, research based. But I go places. I write about those places and what
you're
to
not
do
the
there
food critic guy, are you? You're not the food critic guy, are you?
I'm not a food critic.
No, I've always thought that would be a good gig.
The limit of my food palate extends to pizza. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, mine too. But I could go to places and say if I enjoyed it for the.
No, my friends hate traveling with me because all I do when I go, they're like, "Oh, let's try the local cuisine." I'm like, I just want to get pizza in every country in the world. That's my goal.
There you go.
So so that's my thing. But so I can travel a decent amount, write about it, and that's my way of I love where I live, but I also, when I get restless, I can kind of get away and do that, and that's given me kind of like a foundation of writing and journalism to build off of. Again, I don't see the townie as a news outlet or a journalistic outlet, but it's kind of combines my love for writing on the editorial side of things with my passion for where I live and local issues.
No, I understand all that. It's what's the most recent kind of travel story where you actually wrote about a place that you just really enjoyed? Maybe you learned a bunch of stuff.
This was a year or so ago, but I went to Antarctica, which was my big bucket list destination for pretty much my whole life.
You really wanted to get out of here.
And never exactly. I was like, it wasn't cold enough here, so I might as well. But so that everyone always asks me, what's your big destination, your bucket list place that you want to go to? I'd always say Antarctica. I finally went there. Now I'm like, now where do I want to go?
Yeah.
So that was pretty incredible, and got to write about crossing the Drake Passage, which is the most turbulent body of water in the world, and everyone gets seasick, and you kind of have to they make you earn it. They make you earn the Antarctic experience.
Yeah. What's that? Where'd you stay? Do you remember is there a community or
in Antarctica?
Yeah.
So there's no towns in Antarctica. There's nowhere to stay.
Is that true? Wow.
You take a cruise ship there. The only way to get there is by flying to Argentina, the southern tip of Argentina. You take a cruise ship across the Drake Passage, and then you stay on the cruise ship the whole time. Then you take little Zodiac inflatable boats to the mainland, where you basically do wildlife stuff. You can go hiking.
No villages, no nothing.
There's no nothing. There's scientific research stations scattered throughout, but that's separate. And everything is very sanitized. They don't want you introducing any foreign germs into the environment, so you got to fully sanitize yourself before you go. You're not allowed to interact with anything in the environment.
Wow.
You walk. It sounds like not fun, but it is fun.
Well, especially coming off a pandemic, right? It's like
basically it's just like COVID again, being in Antarctica. So you can't step in the penguins line of where they walk, because they can trip in your footsteps and fall, which is the cutest thing ever. but you
they're
gotta walk
as adorable.
Separately. They're separate. And so it's great. But that was
penguins all over the place.
Penguins and seals for the most part. Yeah.
Really?
And if you're lucky, you'll see whales.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. So it's basically that kind of a trip. I was very lucky to be on it, because it's a bunch of retirees who've saved up their whole lives to be able to do it. It's pretty expensive. So it was pretty much me and a buddy of mine. They let me bring +1, and bunch of 80-year-olds. Let's all boat together for 2 days.
What are you doing?
And,
so you go back, you sleep on the boat.
You go back, you sleep on the boat, you get off periodically throughout the day to go and do whatever on land, and then you go back on, and yeah.
Wow.
So
all those scientific teams, are they all going back to a boat too to sleep? Is that how that works?
No, they stay. The researchers stay on the research stations on the island, so they live there permanently.
Gotcha.
But they're scattered. I mean, Antarctica's huge, so where we weren't even in that same area. But yeah,
Wow.
so trips like that, that's a unique trip for me.
I was gonna say.
Normally it's you go to Florida, you go to Fort Lauderdale for 3 or 4 days. You go to a few hotels. And
You wrote about the Elbow Room in Fort Lauderdale?
I have been to the Elbow Room, actually. Yes.
If you just wrote about that place, I know what kind of trip you were on.
Yes. Yeah, I've been to the Elbow Room.
It's fun. Live music all day, every day, I think. Is what they do.
Yeah, no, that place was that's like a classic local spot, and they give you an itinerary. They give you like here are the restaurants you got to go to, here's the parks you got to go to, here's whatever, and then you get a real good local experience.
You know what I liked about that? Actually, weird sidebar about the Elbow Room, but I feel like most bars should do this. Like we were vacationing, obviously, so we're looking at places that might be fun, and we looked up the Elbow Room. You can actually look at the camera of the bar. And you can see if that's like a happening busy place, if there's music playing, all that stuff. I feel like most bars should do that.
I actually had an idea for I just have everyone who listens sign an NDA on this, but I had an idea for an app that was basically that idea you just said, and it's you like pull up a geo-located app of like downtown Newburyport, say. You're like, I want to know what the bars are, what bars are busy, what's going on. You pull up the app, and it just shows you in real time, based on how many other people who are using the app are in the bar, how busy that bar is. It goes from like ice cold to fire hot. You can go to like the Port Tavern, click on it, and it'll literally show you, if not like an actual live webcam, like just like what the population is, like how busy it is. Yeah. And that's a way of just saying like, hey, I'm new in a city, new in Fort Lauderdale. I want to see where to go. Let me pull up this geolocated app and see what's busy and what isn't busy. Yeah. I don't know how that doesn't exist.
I don't either.
But yeah, it's a little maybe less high tech version of the live webcam thing.
Sure, but no, I think it's a good idea. You're an idea man. I like it. Are you kind of like that? You always thinking about the next thing?
This is probably one of the only ideas I've actually pursued fully. That's how
there's a million more
which
sitting
is probably
over
for
there.
the best.
Yeah, but you always the wheels are always spinning though. I imagine.
Yeah.
So you're a month in. What's has there been like a tough story you've got, or like one that's you had to go back and forth about, like why you're not publishing it or something like that?
No, not having one I've gone back and forth on. A lot of what I started with were people that I knew, and before I had started the website, I reached out to a bunch of friends, family, whoever that I knew were engaged, knew were like decent writers. I was like, hey, I'm starting this thing. I want a decent amount of content banked so that I can launch. So there are people that I reached out to specifically, and now I'm starting to get more unsolicited stuff, which is exciting, and that's kind of my goal. That's what I want. I can't keep harassing my friends.
It's a lot more reading for you though,
for articles. So I haven't had any kind of like dilemmas on publishing or not publishing.
Well, that's good.
But I'm still kind of trying to figure out what hits, what doesn't hit, what people are interested in, what people aren't interested in. What I'm not trying to be a pot stirrer. I'm not trying to be super controversial. But if someone writes something thoughtful and constructive on a controversial subject, that would be great.
I imagine the Facebooks of the world and whatever the X's of the world, that stuff. I imagine is a nice function for you. You hope people reshare these things and then get that going. I don't know exactly if you have any blocks on that stuff or anything, but
no, it's very. I'm always like anyone who's in like the whatever Greater Newburyport talks, nice people in Newburyport Commons. They've definitely seen me just like posting like everything I publish. Trying to get as much engagement as I can, as well as on my own Facebook page. Sure. So that's kind of how the one that I think has gotten the most engagement is a article that was written about Newburyport's cycling culture. Oh. Which great article by Sue Hertz, avid cyclist, about how motorists are often rude to cyclists on the road. And kind of like it's like they own the streets, like get off my street. And I think she's probably right, and she advocates for more bike infrastructure in town. Yeah. And it's very well written, very thoughtful, really good article.
It's going on everywhere.
It's very local. It's very specific to how people interact with the community, and people had a lot to say on that. A lot of it positive, but some negative.
Oh, I bet.
And it's funny. People find negative things to say about literally anything. Like, they will find it on Facebook.
I think that is the world we live in these days. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm realizing.
The cycling thing is crazy too, because like Boston, they have the same debate. No, and obviously it's two very different discussions because it's Boston versus Newburyport. But they have put in a lot of money into bike lanes, and I think and then you have people that are upset about road space going away. Like there's so much to it. The cycling, I don't.
When you come from Denver or come from Colorado, where biking is such a big part of their culture, whereas because there's so much space.
Sure.
There's so many open spaces, and the roads are designed for cyclists. Whereas here, the infrastructure is just not there.
These roads weren't designed for cyclists
They're
here.
not. They're just not.
What were they designed for here? That's the thing,
Horses
right?
and carriages.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It's people are like, even like New York City. You go to New York City, it's like clearly a city built with a purpose. It's grids, and like Boston, it's like.
So I think we have this historical fight between like what was the city built for and what is the future cycling, is the future e-biking, and how do we reconcile those two?
And cyclists aren't going anywhere, so it would be good for drivers to find a way to coexist in a good way, right?
Yeah.
And we're only adding rail trails
or at the very least not scream obscenities at
sure
cyclists on the rail trail.
It is crazy, isn't it? What happens to people when they like drive? It's like I think airplanes and driving. You travel all the time with airplanes too. It's like something happens to what I think are probably maybe normal people, where like just different rage comes upon them, and it's like
I'm a pretty like even keel guy.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the car and when I go to Boston specifically, I try to avoid driving into Boston because inside of me comes out that like I would be terrified for someone in the passenger seat to have to like see that.
You can feel it.
It's not my personality. When I'm driving and I'm sitting at a red light and there's just like endless traffic and gridlock and I can't understand why there's gridlock, I'll lay on the horn just like everyone else. I know it's not doing anything, but it makes me feel like I have agency. It makes me feel like I'm empowered, No sense to it at all.
I get it too, yeah. I've felt it before, but yeah, it's something about those being locked in those cars and planes. I don't know. Again, here, Eben Diskin joining us, the Townie online opinion publication, which is, you can find the Townie here. It's launched about a month ago. Tell everybody again one more time the best way to get on there and find it.
So the Townie.
We're going to end with some rapid fire. You're not done yet, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a Townie online opinion publication. Email me at info@townienbpt.com to submit. You can follow along at the Townie on Facebook, or just check out the website at townienbpt.com.
Awesome, man. Well, good. They'll probably wish you all the best with the project. You are a first-time guest on the show, which means you have to do rapid fire. First thing that comes to mind. It's easy. Some people have really struggled before, but
I'm an overthinker, so this is tough for me. Let's go.
Here you go. Favorite food?
Pizza.
See, it's easy. Favorite musician?
Blink-182.
Wow. First time on the show, I think. Favorite movie?
Really?
Yeah, we got I think maybe the first time, yeah.
Favorite movie, Lord of the Rings.
All right. Favorite TV show?
Oh, The Office.
Favorite city you visited? All these places.
Stockholm.
Okay. Tell me why. Follow.
Everything just works. It's clean.
Yeah.
Everyone's friendly. Everyone speaks English.
Everything they said about Stockholm was right, huh?
It's honestly, it's so their society just works efficiently and seamlessly. It's great.
All right. Favorite Thanksgiving part of the meal?
Thanksgiving.
Like, what's your favorite? I was going to say condiments, but I want to leave it out there.
Okay, I'm going to go desserts.
Desserts, okay.
I'm a big dessert guy for Thanksgiving.
And
any pie, pumpkin pie, apple pie with ice cream.
Okay.
I love a strawberry rhubarb pie. I don't care. I'll do any pie, desserts.
All right. Anything. Two more. Best career advice you ever received?
Best career advice is to ignore rejection, I guess. And when I was trying to get my travel job in the first place, I submitted a ton of travel articles to different websites, got so much rejection, took it personally, was like, I'm a terrible writer. And then one website took a chance on me. And that's the one I've been writing for 7 years.
Beautiful. That is cool. What is the name of the website? Did you mention
It's called Matador Network.
Okay.
I freelance for them now, yeah.
Nice. Sounds like a great idea. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, I actually go to a buddy's house. They have like a family tradition. Yeah. It's like I bought into their family tradition now.
Oh, nice.
So it's nice. I get to kind of see other people's like family dinners and what they do.
Awesome, man. Well, very good. You did good with the rapid fire. That was cool. And awesome. All the best with the Townie, my man. I hope we'll have you back on here again. It's been great to meet you. First time on the show here. Eben Diskin, the Townie. Go send in some online opinion pieces, right?
Please do.
And go follow him on all the social medias too. I'm sure you can learn some more information about what it's all about. Thank you to May Power. This is our last show before Thanksgiving. So crazy. We're here. Our Thanksgiving guest is going to be the mayor of Newburyport. So there you go. If you're, thinking about traveling, make sure you're tuning in on Thursday for that. All right, we'll see everybody live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Peace.